As we've been sitting here all day, I've been getting text messages from constituents back home, and they're very concerned about this. This whole thing has been described as shameful and a train wreck, and it feels that way to many of us. I'm playing cleanup here. Many of us will here at the end. Let me ask you a smattering of questions. Number one, here's what you and Ms. Page exchanged the night that Donald Trump secured the Republican nomination in late 2016. She wrote to you, holy blank, Cruz just dropped out of the race. It's going to be a Clinton-Trump race. Unbelievable. You wondered, what? She writes back, you heard right, my friend. Now you said, now the pressure really starts to finish MYE, which we know now is the FBI code name for the Clinton email investigation. And she writes back and responds, it sure does. So here's our problem. You two are the most influential FBI personnel on the Clinton investigation, and within hours of Donald Trump securing the Republican nomination, you text to her, okay, now the pressure really begins. Now we really have to finish the Clinton investigation. And she agrees, and she says it sure does. Here's the question. Why did you have to finish it up so fast? What were you all referring to? Why? Was it to stop President Trump?
Not at all. She was not one of the two most influential people in the investigation. The purpose of that text was not at all having anything to do with candidate Trump or candidate Clinton. That had everything to do with Director Comey's sense and urgency to try and resolve the investigation as soon as we could to get the FBI and the investigation out of the presidential race.
Were you slow walking it prior to that time? Were you slow walking it prior to that time?
Absolutely not. But there was a constant sense of urgency, and I think everybody on the team, everybody in the senior executive management of the FBI understood that the closer and closer and the longer the investigation took, that we continued, thanks to the actions of some, including some of the candidates, to be inserted into as an issue in the presidential campaign.
Let me stop, because this is my time. We're not supposed to associate this in any way with all of your many other volumes of text, all the disparaging things you said about Donald Trump as a candidate, and the fact that you said, we'll stop it. So those two things are not related in any way at all, right?
Congressman, I understand your concern, and those are your constituents. What I'm telling you under oath is that expression was what I just told you. It was a desire from the highest levels of the Bureau throughout the team to get us out of the process of the general election.
Okay, let me move on. Did you ever find evidence of collusion or conspiracy, as you've said today, between then candidate Trump and Russia?
Sir, I can't, based on the direction of the FBI, I cannot comment on ongoing investigations.
You said in your text of May 18th, 2017, you concluded, quote, there is no there there. What were you referring to?
Sir, I said part of my concern is there might not be a there. And as I mentioned earlier, I think is certainly at the beginning, as we looked at the allegations, there were a wide range of potential things that were going on. On one end, it was that there was nothing, that there was no illegal activity, there was absolutely no conspiracy to do anything, moving up to potentially individuals doing things that are illegally based on individual agendas, and on the very far end, some of the things that might be in the worst case, things which might lead to impeachment. But I was approaching that with a very open mind, not knowing where the facts lay or where they might lead, and some of that saying, hey, there is a reasonable chance, there is a reasonable, realistic set of things which might indicate there's nothing going on here.
Okay, look, you said several times today that every American has a political bias, but not every American has your level of responsibility, the duty, the extraordinary level of responsibility that you had on behalf of the American people. And our entire system of justice depends upon equal and impartial justice under the law. Don't you agree with that?
I absolutely agree on that.
Look, you've spoken in lofty terms today about ethics and honesty and integrity, and yet by every objective measure, the public record of your actions belie those virtues. And look, the Inspector General's report concluded that your conduct demonstrated, quote, extremely poor judgment and a gross lack of professionalism. Why should this committee, why should my constituents back home, why should the American people trust you as a credible witness?
Sir, I regret and I'm sorry for the way that those texts have cast my actions into question, and those of the FBI and the investigations. What I'm telling you, and what I'd ask you to relay to your constituents, is to look at facts. Set aside the texts. Look at what the IG found. Look at the actions that I took, the actions that the
With
team,
all due respect, I'm out of time.
Sir,
hold on. With all due respect, we cannot separate the texts from that question, because the texts were written during the investigation, while you were in charge of these investigations, while you're the most responsible, important person in these investigations at many times, and we cannot separate your personal views and bias from the facts as they developed. That's our problem, and at the end of the day, that's what we're all still very concerned about, even after all these hours of hearings.
Sir, what I would tell you, sir, is look at the...
The
Mr. Chairman,
time of the
briefly?
gentleman has expired. That was a statement, not a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I
So
give it back.
the gentleman from Oakland.